Jace Rowland rode across the desert plains of Vega 9 on his old but reliable hover horse, the engine humming softly beneath him as red dust swirled in the air. The frontier world was quiet in the early morning, but Jace knew silence never lasted long on a planet like this. Vega 9 was wild, half-settled, and full of dangers waiting behind every rock ridge, but it was home for him. He had grown up under the twin suns, learned to ride before he could read, and learned to fight before he could drink clean water. Today, he wasn't riding for adventure. He was riding because he had just captured a smuggler in the northern canyon, and he needed to bring him back to Dustfall Town. Except something strange happened. The smuggler, a nervous man with shaking hands, didn't have money to pay for his life. Instead, he offered something else. Someone else. Jace didn't want trouble. He only wanted justice. But when the smuggler pointed to a metal crate and said, "Take her, she's rare, more valuable than gold," Jace's jaw tightened. He hated when people talked like that. He already knew he wouldn't like what he saw inside the crate. When the lid opened with a sharp hiss, a young alien girl stared up at him. She was small, thin, and wearing torn clothes. Her eyes were bright silver, glowing softly in the dim light. Her skin had a soft pattern of blue markings running along her cheeks and arms, marks he recognized from stories and old reports. She wasn't human. She was Apache, one of the native alien tribes of Vega 9. They were proud, strong, and deeply protective of their freedom. No Apache belonged in a crate. Jace looked at the smuggler with anger in his eyes. "Where did you get her?" The smuggler raised both hands. "Not my fault. Raiders caught her. I only bought her. Please, just take her as payment and let me go." Jace hated that answer. He hated everything about this situation. But he knew one thing clearly. He could not leave the girl with the smuggler. So he grabbed the man by the collar, handed him over to the Dustfall guards, and took the girl only because he planned to free her. The frontier sheriff sighed when Jace explained the story. No one wanted conflict with the Apache tribes. The sheriff told him, "Return her to her people before someone blames us." So Jace prepared his hover horse, filled his water tanks, packed food, and told the girl, "I'm taking you home." She didn't answer. She only stared at him with a mixture of fear and suspicion. He didn't blame her. Anyone would be scared after being locked in a metal box. Jace helped her climb onto the back seat and rode out of town, heading south toward Apache territory. The desert wind blew gently, carrying the smell of dry grass and red sand. Hours passed quietly. The girl sat stiff, her hands tightly gripping the seat. Finally, Jace decided to speak. "My name is Jace Rowland. I'm not here to hurt you." Still no answer. "You hungry?" he asked, offering her a food packet. She hesitated. Her eyes narrowed like she expected a trick. But she took the packet slowly, sniffed it, and then ate quietly. Her movements were small and cautious, like she didn't know if she was safe yet. Jace didn't rush her. Trust didn't grow fast, especially for someone who had just escaped captivity. He kept driving, guiding the hover horse through rough terrain. As the suns shifted in the sky, the heat grew stronger. After a while, the girl finally spoke. Her voice was soft, almost shaking. Why didn't you leave me with him?" Jace glanced back at her. "Because that's wrong. No one owns you." She blinked, surprised by the simple answer. He added, "I'm taking you home, that's all." The girl looked down at her hands. She whispered, as if still unsure, "My name is Asha." Jace nodded. "Good to meet you, Asha." The desert road grew more dangerous as they approached the southern cliffs. Strange shadows moved between rocks. Some creatures on Vega 9 liked to hunt travelers. But Jace had traveled this path many times. He kept one hand near his blaster just in case. Asha watched him closely. She studied his movements, his posture, even the way he scanned the horizon. She seemed surprised by his calm behavior, She finally asked, "Why are you helping me? Your people and my people do not trust each other." "That's true," Jace said honestly, "but I make my own choices, and I don't leave someone behind just because they're different." Asha stared at him for a long moment, almost as if she wanted to understand how his mind worked. Maybe she wasn't used to humans who acted this way. By evening, they reached a narrow canyon. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows. The hover horse's lights flickered on, guiding them through the rocky path. But halfway through the canyon, Asha suddenly grabbed Jace's shoulder. "Stop!" Jace halted instantly, his instincts sharp. "What is it?" Asha listened. Her silver eyes shifted toward the cliffs above them. "Someone is here." Jace looked up. At first, he saw nothing. Then he heard it, the echo of metal scraping against rock. Raiders. He whispered, "Hold on," and revved the hover horse. But before he could move, 3 raider bikes dropped from a higher ridge, blocking their path. The leader shouted, "Hand over the girl, Cowboy! She belongs to us!" Asha tensed in fear, and Jace felt anger burn inside him. He positioned himself protectively in front of her. "She doesn't belong to anyone!" The raiders laughed. One fired a warning shot that blasted a chunk of rock near Jace's feet. Jace muttered, "This desert never gives me a break." Asha whispered urgently, "There is a small tunnel to the left, hidden behind the rocks. My people use it." That was all he needed. Jace kicked the hover horse into maximum drive, swerving to the side. The engine roared as they shot forward. Blaster fire lit the canyon walls. Rocks exploded around them, dust flying everywhere. The raiders chased them fiercely, but Asha guided him through the tight spaces, shouting directions over the noise. Jace trusted her completely. They slipped into a narrow path so small the raider bikes couldn't follow. The raiders cursed behind them, but their engines couldn't squeeze through. After minutes of twisting turns, the tunnel opened into a quiet valley. Jace slowed the hover horse and looked back. The raiders were gone. He exhaled. "You saved us?" Asha looked away shyly. "You saved me first." Night fell. Jace set up a small camp in the valley. The stars of Vega 9 glowed bright above them, filling the sky with silver streaks. Asha sat close to the fire, her knees pulled to her chest. She still watched him carefully, but not with the same fear as before. Jace cooked simple food. When he handed her a plate, she said in a small voice, "Thank you." He smiled lightly. "You don't have to thank me. I'm just doing what's right." Asha studied him again, like she was trying to understand what kind of human he truly was. After a long silence, she finally said, "You are different from the raiders, and different from the traders who came to our land." "I hope that's a good thing." She nodded slowly. "It is." Jace leaned back, watching the stars. He wondered what her village looked like. He had never been allowed inside Apache territory. Humans and Apache kept their distance to avoid conflict. But now he was going straight to their homeland with someone precious, someone he still knew nothing about. Before going to sleep, Jace asked softly, "Asha, why were those raiders chasing you? Why are you so important to them?" Asha's eyes lowered. She held her hands tightly together. She looked like she wanted to speak but wasn't ready. So Jace didn't push her. He let the silence exist. Morning came with soft sunlight warming the ground. They packed up and continued toward Apache territory. As they traveled, Asha grew more nervous. She recognized landmarks, stone pillars, painted rocks, carved symbols. She was home, but she was scared. Jace noticed. "It's going to be all right." Asha didn't answer. The path led them to a long valley filled with tall red grass. Jace slowed the hover horse, sensing something strange. The wind felt heavier. The air was too quiet. Asha's voice trembled. We are close." Suddenly, shadows moved in the grass. Jace reached for his blaster, but Asha put a hand on his arm. "Do not fight." Figures emerged. Tall Apache warriors surrounded them, holding energy spears and bows. Their eyes glowed like Asha's. Their markings shone blue under the morning light. Dozens of them. One warrior shouted, "Human, step away from her!" Another pointed a spear at Jace's chest. "You dare bring her here in chains?" Jace raised both hands calmly. "I didn't hurt her. I brought her back." A warrior stepped forward. "Lies! No human enters our land with innocent intentions." Asha suddenly moved, stepping in front of Jace. The warriors froze in surprise. Asha lifted her chin, her voice clear and strong for the first time. "He speaks the truth. He saved me." The warriors exchanged confused looks. Another stepped forward and asked, "Child, who are you to defend a human?" Asha took a deep breath, her eyes shining with pride and fear mixed together. She answered with words that made every warrior fall silent. "I am Asha, daughter of High Chief Tarak." Jace's heart skipped a beat. Daughter of the chief. Everything suddenly made sense. Why the raiders wanted her, why she was important, why she hid her identity. Asha took one more step forward. "This human brought me home when no one else could. He protected me. He honored me. He is not our enemy." The warriors stood frozen, trying to process what they just heard. Some dropped to one knee in respect for her. Others looked at Jace with a new expression, not hatred, but uncertain respect. Jace looked at Asha. She finally looked back at him without fear, her eyes full of trust. Before anyone could say more, a loud horn echoed across the valley from deep within Apache territory. A warrior whispered, "The chief has come." Jace stood still, surrounded by warriors who didn't know if they should attack him or thank him. Asha whispered to him softly, "Do not be afraid. You brought me home. My father will listen." But Jace wasn't sure. Chiefs didn't always forgive humans easily. And now Jace was about to face the most powerful leader of the Apache people, because he returned the chief's daughter. The sound of the horn echoed across the valley, deep and powerful, rolling through the red grass like thunder. Jace felt the tension build around him as every Apache warrior straightened and turned toward the sound. Asha stood tall, her silver eyes shining with a mix of pride and nervous energy. Jace could see she was trying to look brave, but he sensed her heart was beating fast. Moments later, a group of Apache elders appeared at the far end of the valley, walking slowly with authority. In the middle of them was a tall man with broad shoulders, long dark hair tied with beads, and blue markings that glowed brighter than anyone else's. His steps were heavy with power, and his presence alone made the air feel different. Asha whispered faintly, "My father." High Chief Tarak stopped when he saw her. For a second, all the strength in his face softened, relief washing over his eyes. He took 2 long steps toward Asha before stopping again, as if he needed to confirm she was real. "Asha," he breathed. Asha ran forward and wrapped her arms around him. The chief held her tightly, his large hands trembling just a little. The warriors around them lowered their heads in respect. It was clear Asha was loved deeply by her people. When Tarak released her, his expression changed. He looked past Asha straight at Jace. His eyes were sharp, unreadable, almost dangerous. Jace felt sweat on his neck as Tarak walked toward him, each step slow and deliberate. The warriors closed in on both sides. Jace did not reach for his blaster. He kept his hands open, showing he meant no harm. Tarak finally stood in front of him, tall enough to cast a long shadow over Jace. He studied the human cowboy with the gaze of someone who had seen wars, betrayals, and broken promises. "You brought my daughter to our lands," the chief said in a deep voice. "Why?" Jace answered calmly. "She was taken. Raiders planned to sell her. I only helped her return home. Tarek's eyes narrowed. Humans do not help my people so easily. Asha stepped between them, turning to face her father. He saved me. Twice. Father, he fought the raiders. He protected me when I was frightened. He even refused to leave me behind. Tarek looked at her gently for a moment. You trust him? Asha nodded without hesitation. Yes. Tarek turned back to Jace. The air felt heavier than before. Jace was ready for the worst, but instead, the chief raised one hand and touched Jace's shoulder once, a gesture of acknowledgement in Apache culture. You have shown honor, Tarek said. For that, you may walk in our land. For now. Some warriors murmured in surprise, but none challenged the decision. The chief then ordered, Bring food, bring water. Bring rest for my daughter and for the human who brought her back. The Apache warriors guided Jace and Asha into their village, deep beyond a hidden ridge. The village was beautiful. Tall wooden structures mixed with glowing stones, gardens filled with strange plants, children running with laughter, elders sitting around circular fire pits. It felt like a living world, untouched by the chaos outside. Asha walked close to Jace. For the first time since they met, she looked relaxed. Inside the chief's large home, Jace sat on woven mats while Asha told her story, everything from the moment she was taken to how she hid her identity to the moment Jace opened the crate. Tarek listened silently, his jaw tightening whenever she described danger. When she described how Jace treated her, he nodded slowly as if confirming she had chosen her words with honesty. You acted with courage, Tarek finally said to Jace, and with respect. Jace dipped his head slightly. Anyone would have done the same. No, Tarek replied. Not anyone. A long pause grew between them. Jace felt the tension rise again, but Asha reached out and gently touched her father's arm. Father, there is more. Tarek looked down at her, waiting. She took a deep breath. The raiders who took me, they were not acting alone. They spoke of a plan. They want to attack both our villages and the human settlements. They want control of the crystal fields. Every Apache elder in the room stiffened. Jace felt his heart drop. Crystal fields were the heart of Vega 9's power, dangerous energy sources buried in the earth. Whoever controlled them controlled the whole frontier. Tarek's voice turned cold. Did they say when? No, Asha said, but soon. The chief stood up and addressed everyone present. This threat is not just against us. It is against humans too. The room filled with worried voices. For years, humans and Apache avoided conflict only through careful distance, but an attack on the crystals could destroy both. Jace spoke carefully. My people don't know about this. We need to warn them. Tarek raised a hand. If we warn them alone, they will blame us. If you warn them alone, they will not listen. Jace understood. We need a joint message. Asha nodded. We need to fight together. The idea shocked many of the warriors, but Tarek stared into the fire pit, thinking deeply. After a long silence, he finally said, If this alliance must happen, then you, Jace Rowland, will help lead it. You are the only human my daughter trusts. Jace blinked. He didn't expect that. Me? You walked into danger for her. You crossed our lands alone. You fought the raiders, and you treated my daughter with honor. This is enough for me. Jace wasn't sure if he deserved all that respect, but he knew they didn't have time to argue. Preparations began immediately. Apache scouts brought Jace a set of lightweight armor decorated with simple markings. Nothing fancy, but strong and made from the metal roots of the mountain trees. Asha watched as Jace put it on, her expression soft with pride. You look like a warrior now, she said. Jace chuckled. I'm more used to a hat and dust-covered clothes. That is what made you different, Asha replied. But now you fight beside us. The next day, Apache warriors trained with Jace. He learned their silent signals, their quick movements, and their unique weapons. Asha trained beside him, swift and elegant, her energy bow glowing as she fired perfect shots into moving targets. Sometimes she guided Jace's stance, gently adjusting his shoulders or showing him where to step. Her presence was calm and focused, and he found himself admiring her strength even more. During a quiet break, Asha sat beside him on a stone ledge. The wind carried soft sounds from the village. "You are not afraid?" she asked. Jace smiled a little. "Of fighting? No. That is not what I meant," she said softly. "You are in the land of my people. You stand with us in danger. You meet my father without fear. Few humans would do this." Jace looked out over the cliffs. "I'm not afraid of the Apache. I'm afraid of failing. If those raiders get what they want, both our worlds fall." Asha nodded, understanding. "You will not fail. I believe in you." Her words stirred something in him, a warmth he didn't expect. He didn't say anything back, but Asha didn't need him to. She could see it in his eyes. Before sunrise the next day, scouts returned with urgent news. The raiders were moving, hundreds of them. They were heading toward the largest crystal field on Vega 9. If they reached it, the explosion would destroy everything within miles. The Apache warriors gathered quickly. Tarek stood before them, his voice powerful and commanding. "Today, we fight not for land, not for glory, but for life. Our enemies come with machines and fire, but we come with unity." He looked at Jace. "You will ride with us," the chief said. "Lead the humans who are willing to help. Bring them to the field." Jace saluted with respect, then mounted his hover horse. Asha mounted her own, a sleek Apache glider with glowing blue lines. Together they rode out of the village, leading warriors through the desert. By midday, smoke filled the sky. The raiders had already begun digging at the edges of the crystal field with heavy drills. Explosions shook the ground. The air vibrated with dangerous energy. Jace rode ahead and waved a signal flag toward the human settlement in the distance. He prayed someone saw it. A minute later, human hoverbikes rushed across the sand. Dustfall Town had arrived to help. Sheriffs, hunters, and old friends of Jace. They all lined beside the Apache warriors. It was the first time in years humans and Apache stood united. Asha whispered, This is something new." Jace nodded. "Let's make it count." The battle began with a storm of sound and light. Raiders charged with powerful rifles and armored bikes. Apache warriors moved fast, jumping between rocks, their glowing weapons cutting through the chaos. Humans fired carefully, protecting their new allies. Jace rode through the battlefield, firing accurately while guiding others away from the unstable crystal spots. A raider aimed at Asha from behind, but Jace saw him and fired first, knocking the attacker off his bike. Asha turned, her eyes wide. "You saved me," she said breathlessly. Jace grinned. "Just returning the favor." But moments later, a huge explosion shook the ground. A cliff edge cracked and started to collapse. Asha didn't see it. Jace rushed forward, grabbed her arm, and pulled her away just as the ground gave way. They tumbled together onto safer ground, breathing hard. Asha looked at him with a strange softness. "You always choose to protect me." "I'm not letting anything happen to you," Jace answered. The battle raged for what felt like hours. Finally, Tarek and Jace reached the raider leader, a large brute with advanced armor. Together, they fought, Tarek with his spear, Jace with his blaster. In the end, the leader fell, and the raiders began to retreat. Silence finally settled over the field. Humans and Apache looked at each other, tired, bruised, but victorious. They had fought together and survived together. Tarek raised his spear high. Today, we stood as one. Today, we protected our world. Cheers rose from both sides. Asha walked to Jace and stood close to him, her eyes filled with gratitude and something deeper. You helped save my people, she said softly. You are a friend of the Apache now. Tarak approached them and placed his hand over Jace's chest. From this day, Jace Rowland, you are named Brother of the Tribe. You walked with courage. You respected our ways. You protected my daughter when we could not. Jace felt a warmth spread through him. Thank you, Chief. I'm honored. Asha stepped closer, her voice barely above a whisper. You brought me home. I will never forget that. The suns began to set, painting the sky in gold and red. Humans and Apache worked together to repair the damaged field. Jace stood beside Asha, watching the peaceful sky. She smiled gently at him. Now our worlds have a new beginning, she said. Because of you. Jace tipped his hat with a small smile. Because of both of us. And in that quiet moment, Jace Rowland knew something had changed. Not just in the land, but in his heart. A bond had formed between him and Asha. A bond born from danger, trust, and shared courage. Vega 9 was no longer a world divided. It was a world united by honor.